Welcome back to the Faculty Factory podcast. It's Kim Skorupski here at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas. Yes, Galveston is an island. I was just talking to a colleague from Hopkins last week, and she said, Kim, you keep saying island. Why do you keep saying island and island life and island time? I said, oh, because Galveston is an island. And so I actually had to share my screen and pull up a map. It's a beautiful island of Galveston. Come on down to UTMB and visit us sometime. And speaking of University of Texas Medical Branch, I'm looking at a new Texas friend and colleague right up the road from me. But try getting me off this island. Good luck. Dr. Geeta Singhal. Hi, Geeta.
Hello, nice to be here. Thank you.
Dr. Singhal is the executive vice chair in the Department of Pediatrics, a professor in pediatrics, and a proud pediatric hospitalist at Baylor College of Medicine. Thanks for being with me, Geeta. I'm so happy that you replied to my plea to all of our Texas friends saying, hey, now that I live in Texas, all y'all got to get on this podcast. So thanks for being here. And I'm really excited about the topic because I too am all about the JOY word. So, Dr. Singhal, tell us what you'd like to talk about today.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you so much for all that you do. And I'm so excited to be on this podcast. So, I appreciate you so much. So, what I would like to talk about today is the joy of teaching at the bedside. And I truly believe that if we can do it with the right amount of time and not feeling so pressured, it can actually be a mitigator of burnout.
A mitigator of burnout. Who would think that actually doing our jobs would be mitigating the burnout? I love how you're twisting this around, Geeta, because we oftentimes hear that our jobs are giving us burnout. Our jobs are what's, putting the pressure on us. I can't wait to hear your perspective on actually doing our work, those of us who are clinicians, that this is actually not only not causing burnout, but it's actually causing joy and growing joy. So tell us why that brings you joy.
Sure. So, well, first of all, I've been thinking about this for many, many years. And I truly believe when we have a student, if we can believe and put the lens on that that student is our future. And sometimes I joke with the students, like, I want you to learn all this because I'm planning to retire to an island, maybe Hawaii, but I want to also retire. And then sometimes I'll see kind of their eyes brighten up because the students, they're worrying about their grade, they're worrying about their exams, and am I going to get in the best residency? And I'm like, for sure, that's there. But what if we think about you are the future? You are going to take care of these patients.
Yeah.
Let's think about this. And then when they do that good job, talk about joy, talk about that skip in my step. Because what an honor, right? I mean, what an honor to be a clinician and an educator who gets to watch our future every single day.
Wow. What a gift you're giving to the learners as well. A gift of going from the mindset of, uh-oh, here I am with Dr. Singhal, and she's going to watch everything I do. She's looking for an opportunity to criticize me, to correct me, to judge me. So going from that mindset to, oh my gosh, Dr. Singhal is saying, I'm going to be the next her. It totally flips the power. It totally flips, I would think, the confidence. Yeah, I think that would be a total mind shift for lots of learners.
I never thought of it that way. So thank you for that thought, because I think for me, that's the way that when it does feel exhausting, when you're like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the patient. We have so many, we have to bill and we have to make sure the computer is okay with all the notes and all that we have to do. But if we think, wow, what an honor that we're going to shape the future of these students, residents, fellows, PA students, whatever that learner is, to take care of our future. In fact, I was talking to some friends last night, and then we realized, oh, those future doctors are actually going to take care of us when we're old.
Yes.
So that's also maybe a motivator to do a good job.
Maybe a little selfish as well to realize, yeah. And it's so funny because for those of us who aren't clinicians, maybe our only exposure to clinicians is television shows and these series where everything is so can be intense and hypercritical and really, really just pressure cooker, people yelling, screaming, and politics and mind games. And it seems like, whoa, this is stress. And they have to have all the scary music, of course, in the backdrop. So I think, oh my gosh, it's so intense.
Yeah.
And so to picture an environment where the students, the learners are welcomed into welcome to my world. This is all going to be yours. And I'm going to model for you
Yes.
how the culture is here, how I have chosen to lead and be and build relationship, and how I've managed to comport myself this to have a sustainable, vibrant career versus living like I'm on fire. So I think there's so much opportunity to not only empower and grow confidence and instill joy in them, but to model leadership and sustainability and a life beyond just the here and now in the office or in the workplace. So I think it's got to be a really great feeling for you and your learners. Can you walk us through like how you have this joy and how does that look for you
Yeah.
and what do the learners do?
Well, oh gosh. I mean, again, I'm not trying to say it's all fun and games. I mean, there are times that it's just exhausting and I can't keep up and I have to go to my office and eat. I have a chocolate drawer that I have to just like sit and just, kind of like eat some chocolate and try to calm down. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm just like, like
Pollyanna.
lollipops and Pollyanna the whole time. But I think with the mindset that really helps me and it grounds me in the meaning of why we're here. Because I think with burnout, sometimes you feel like it's just this pressure cooker that I'm in, and there's so much to do and not enough time. But if I can go back and remind myself of why I'm here and also the fortunate reason why I'm here. Like how many people get to do that? And even if it's not a clinician educator, even another educator, whether they're teaching through PowerPoint, interactive teaching, but inspiring that learner. Maybe that's the way I should say it, Kim. It's inspiring that learner really to be the best they can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, though, in the clinical world, I'm like, this is, as a pediatrician, tell the learner, this is someone's child.
Mm.
The most precious thing I think that a parent can entrust to us is their child. So not only am I lucky to work with a learner, but I'm also lucky to have that honor of caring for someone's child. So I try to also impart that to the learner of, again, why we're here.
Yeah.
And then I think the really fun thing is they grow up. All these students and residents and fellows, they grow up and then they take care of the patients. And then I get to work with them, whether clinically or through faculty development. And I get to see them grow up. Just, I think as a parent, how we feel pride when we see our children grow up or our friends' children grow up or people we care about. So again, I'm not trying to say like this 100% of the time, but when I have time to step back and reflect, I'm like, what a life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Geeta, when you were earlier in your career and starting off and thinking back to that time, what caused you the biggest stress? Like can you put yourself back in the day when you had just, freshly minted and okay, now I'm in charge. Can you remember the things that kind of really rattled you and, drove you to the proverbial chocolate drawer? What were the things that stressed you out? Or have you always been this kind of joyful personality that is always sunshine, lollipops, rainbows? You're kind of the lemonade person.
Well, it depends well, if you ask my husband, he would be like, "Oh no, no, no!" Like I'm a big warrior. And I think to your question, especially starting out, but even now, I never want to inadvertently hurt a patient. I never want to inadvertently hurt a learner. And I would worry about my decisions. Like, first, am I doing the right thing for the patient? And then am I doing the right thing for my learner? And I still carry that with me. And but I've learned through the years that I think one of my theories is that, again, never want to hurt anybody. But I think if we can impart to the families, to the parents, to the patients that we care, because they often don't know who's the smartest doctor. Maybe they can look at Google reviews or Yelp reviews or whatever the latest reviews are, but I think they genuinely don't know, but they know if we care. And then I truly believe that the learner may not know if I'm the smartest or not the smartest. Maybe I have a lot of publications, maybe I don't. But they will always know that I care, or they'll know if that person cares. Yeah. So I think, though, to your question, just always try to do the right thing, but it's hard. It's hard to do the right thing 100% of the time, or make the right decision 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So those are the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah, I can absolutely, resonate with that, wanting to do the right thing and doing no harm for sure. And it's really, I think I admire clinicians who have that patience, that presence to put themselves in the shoes of a learner and try to widen your lens of how this person needs to learn, because I struggle with impatience, and I've taught in college for years and years. I put myself through graduate school teaching undergraduate college courses. And when I think back to how I taught, it was very much, how I was taught. So I would read the chapter, I'd be 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the class, and I would try to come up with activities and cool stuff and fun stuff. But it was mostly me like talking at, I thought that if I'm the teacher, I have to be showing that I'm smart and I know what's going on, and I know the definitions of these words, and there's this theory and there's that theory, and let's talk about this, let's talk about that, because they were looking at me. I'm paying you, my parents are paying you tuition, so you better be telling me. You're the teacher, tell me. And it's only in my later life have I finally had the, some little inkling of wisdom to go, wait a minute, Kim, you're not the keeper of all truth. It's not, especially for the adult learners.
Yeah.
That's not the model. That maybe the learners aren't necessarily looking at me to have all the answers, rather facilitating their finding the answers and recognizing that they have some truth in them, and I can just kind of walk with them to figure that out together. So I think it's really mature, obviously, very mature of you and very wise of you to have that presence, that sensibility of, hey, we're making meaning together. I'm proud of you. We're learning together. And it's not all, I'm not, the smartest one in the room, but I care about you as a person. That relationship building, I think, goes much further to open up space for people to then learn and ask questions and feel safe to explore without worrying that, Dr. Geeta Singhal is going to beat me over the head because I asked a stupid question.
I think you encapsulated that really well, because one thing that I do talk with more of the residents and the fellows, that actually knowledge changes so fast anyway. Like I would never be able to keep up.
There you go.
So I can't so basically I said, I'm here to help you think critically about what's going on with the patient. Like I'm here with you. I can hold your hand. We can walk together. I'd rather walk behind you while you're taking the best care of the patient you can. And then I'll lend my experience, because I just don't know how that's the way I was taught too, kind of that professor or the teacher has all the knowledge and that person's imparting. But I think these days the knowledge is just too fast. So I'm very interested, actually, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm very interested in the use of AI in clinical medicine. And I've been trying it out a little bit because I feel like that's their future. So we can't remember everything. But if we put that, okay, trainee, the number one person in this room is not Geeta's ego. it's the patient, then we can reframe this about learning together.
Yes, I like that humility that you're talking about of I'm not the keeper of all truth. That to me gets back to the humility of recognizing wisdom, knowledge is happening so fast. I could hold fast to that stereotype or that image of me as like, nope, I'm the font of all wisdom. You have to come to me and everything gets, checked off by me, the head doctor, whatever, whatever. But boy, that's going to be exhausting. That is an exhausting way to live life if you want to um, hoard and keep all the knowledge. It's almost like, shutting down the internet and only you have access to it so that
Right.
you have all the answers. You can do that, but oh my goodness, what a burden, terrible burden. Rather, like you're saying, these days, hello, none of us can afford to do that. We have to recognize that gone are the days of the old Rolodex or even the Encyclopedia Britannica or even Googling things. I mean, AI in 3 seconds, I would spend hours creating role plays and vignettes and scenarios. And I finally, again, got halfway smart and asked ChatGPT. And in 3 seconds, Geeta, 3 seconds, with the right prompting, I got, a great role play for mentoring. And then I compared it to role playing for coaching. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what our learners and students are doing now.
Yeah.
So we can't afford to not be on that bus. And I think that your mentality and that humility of saying, I'm not going to have all the answers. Naturally, I am in this position
It's
because I do have some answers and I have some experience and I've earned the cred and I belong here. And it's not a but, and every day there's something new going on. We're in this together. Let's think critically. Let's digest the information. Let's think carefully, if then loops. Don't take everything as gospel truth, no matter from whom you hear it. And let's get
yeah.
to the best resolution.
And I love what you said, because kind of going back to teaching can be a mitigator of burnout. If we have kind of maybe a different frame of mind, then it's not so exhausting, which then leads to burnout. So because then I'm like, okay, wait, we're going to solve this together. And then the next time you're going to solve it. And then, and then there are, again, investment in our future. So yeah, so it's great. Yeah, it's
You
interesting.
you clearly are someone who loves being with learners, and I'm the same way too. It fills my balloon, and my
Yeah.
battery gets charged when I'm with people who you see light bulbs going off, or they have questions and they're kind of crunchy faced, or they're just kind of looking like dead eyes, and you ask a question or somebody else asks a question and you kind of think a noodle on that and you kind of see eyebrows raising up and people going, oh, like that's to me that's a charge
It's
to like people sit up straight and go, wait, what? It's
such
so
a chart. Absolutely. And actually, from the faculty development lens, even more joy is when you see that trainee, they become a faculty, and then they do so well as a faculty. Then they start giving back. That's probably my ultimate joy.
Yeah. Tell me more about that other joy, the joy. So you've talked, joy of teaching at the bedside and the joy of being with learners and being in that environment. So tell me more about what you do in faculty development, why that's joyful to you.
Sure. So again, I have this great honor. I work with faculty, whether they're interested in promotion, whether they want to apply for like a teaching award, a patient care excellence award, or they just want to talk about career trajectory. So it's really exciting when, to your point, Kim, you see that light bulb.
Mhm.
Because one thing I would say, if we talk even just about promotion, I tried to explain to the faculty, like the promotion's the cherry on top of the sundae. Like do the right thing, like whether you're helping scholarship, you're helping a patient, or scholarship, you're writing a book chapter to teach others, or whatever the case may be. You're putting together a beautiful PowerPoint that you're going to share with others, all different forms of scholarship. Do it for the right reason. And then guess what? You're going to get promoted, which is like the silver lining. Again, I love, as you can see, I love sweets. So I'll stick with the ice cream sundae metaphor. But don't do it because you're doing a checklist. like I have to write 5 papers and 2 book chapters and be first and last author. Sure, that's there, but do it because you're actually trying to help others
Okay.
and you're writing it up or you're teaching because you have again that bigger purpose. And then yeah, you get promoted. So that's another really fun thing for me.
Yes, I totally agree with this. I mentioned this before in the podcast. Dr. Simon Best at Hopkins. I had him on a panel to talk about promotion, and he was the last one on the panel. And he said, actually, I don't really care about promotion. And everybody kind of like the leaders in the room took a collective, and he's like, that careerism thing, it doesn't matter to me. Do what you love. You do what you
Yes.
love, what brings
Yes.
you joy, what brings you, why you are here. What is your, as you said earlier, Geeta, your meaning, your purpose? Why are you
Yes.
here? You do that. All that other stuff's going to happen.
It's going
Leadership
to happen.
roles, titles, accolades, awards, all those honors, that will happen as a function of you doing what you're meant to do, what you're here to do, what you are gifted to do, what you are obligated to share. So you focus on that. And I think it's nothing, not many things sadden me in faculty development, in my faculty development world or role, more than people who say, I'd love to meet with you. And I'm always, of course, just like you are, Geeta. And then they start, after a couple minutes of niceties, they make it clear that I want to be a leader. And I'm like, okay, wonderful. Yeah, I want to have a leadership role. I'm like, what? I don't care. I just want a leadership role. Doing what? Well, whatever needs to be done. So can you just introduce me to people to do things? Well, what kind of things can you do? Oh, I can do lots of things. I'm like, yeah. And my heart kind of
Yeah.
goes, ouch, ouch, versus someone who says, I've noticed that there's this need and this process, and I never really realized that I was really good at this, or I've kind of learned that I'm kind of good at this. I thought everybody did it, and it's been brought to my attention, or I tried this out of my division or by my department or my clinic or my staff or in my lab, and it seems to be working well. I'm getting good feedback. I'd like to have maybe broader impact. I'm wondering if I could like bring it up to the departmental level, or school level, or so that to me is two different mindsets. And I've talked about this kind of a scenario in my leadership courses that and I'm sure I know it works. That prior former model that I talked about, as someone saying, I want to be a leader and give me a leadership role. I don't care what it is, and I'm going to make it happen. And I know people who've done that. We all know. And they knock it out of the park and they go maybe and do more and more and more and more. And yet to me, that feels really hollow. It feels like someone who's chasing those elusive, when I get this, then I'm going to be happy. When that happens, then I will have joy. When I retire, then we're going to travel, then I'm going to have fun. It's that whole really that because we've all experienced certain milestones, and were you really that much happier after that thing happened?
Yeah.
After you got your first grant, or you're like, woohoo, I got a grant. And then you're like, oh boy, now I got to do the work. Woohoo, I got the paper published. All right, so what? Next paper. So it's so fleeting. And so to chase
Yeah.
these kind of stars that once you catch them, they crumble and you're like, was that it? Is all this all there is? Versus doing just something that is in your heart or in your brain that
Yeah.
you can't help but do it and doing it and people going, yeah, that's you're right, Geeta. That's why we do
That's
what we do because
that's
we can't not do it.
you can't not do it. And then if you help somebody or inspire somebody, then again, you could it's not fleeting. It's it stays with you. And then yeah, I just love what you said. I yeah, I
Well, you're
completely should.
reminding me also reminding me of when you were saying earlier, like that Maya Angelou quote, which was I was kind of trying to trigger. I was thinking of
Yes,
Mother Teresa, but people may forget what you said, but they're not going to make you forget how you made them feel. So that
yes,
kind of same
yes,
sensibility of people don't care what you know, they want to know that you care. All that, everything, these sayings come back to relationships. And we are
yes,
human beings in relationship with others. So the joy that you're talking about when you are at the bedside and that learner, the light bulbs are going off and the eyebrows are getting raised and they're smiling and they're clicking and everything's dropping into place and they're feeling that confidence. That patient surely, and the patient's family also feels that energy and that sharing of wisdom and confidence and that the longevity, the fact that this is how education happens. This is how care happens when it's in community and in relationship and has sustainability and the threads get pulled forward. That's all, everything I can imagine that happens for you, with your patients in the room and at the bedside and in the hallways. And then in your faculty development world, yeah, this is these little dipping our toes in different waters. It has long lasting ripple effects that long after you and I are gone, that patient, that learner, that somebody will maybe won't remember our name, but they're going to remember something and it's going to stick with them. And so on,
Yes.
so on, and so on, and so on. And then we
Yeah.
build and build and build. I'm going to roll back to your AI example that,
Yeah.
because of course we're on the precipice of like AI changing so much of what we do and both the excitement of the opportunity of how it can help us be more efficient and just the possibilities are just infinite and also coupled with the fear and the nervousness and
Yeah.
put some of us out of jobs and change the moral fabric of our society. I mean, post-apocalyptic, blah 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 blah. But one thing AI will never be able to do is replicate truly that authentic, empathetic human experience of memory and connectedness and true emotions. That's something that is just uniquely us, right?
It's us. And then how fun, if when a learner comes to you and says, guess what? My paper got published, or the parent gave me a hug, or you're
Yeah,
like, okay, I can
yeah,
retire now to my
yeah,
island.
yeah, yeah. And ChatGPT, any note would ever say, "Oh, I'm happy," and the parent was very happy. They gave us 5 stars, and the
Yeah.
patient smiled. Yay! Yeah, it's not the same thing.
No, it's
That's
not
not
the
the
same.
same thing.
It's not the same. Yeah, no, it's yeah, so I think again, there's been times that I have been burnt out, but when I can go back and revisit why I'm here
Hmm.
and the honor of being here
Hmm.
and the honor of getting to talk to so many people, whether learners or faculty.
You're also making me think, Geeta, about, when times get tough, and they do, and we all have lulls and ebbs and flows in the daily pattern of our lives, in the seasons of our lives, throughout a year, a semester, a quarter, whatever. It's inevitable. But, you said something really important is reminding ourselves, what does bring me joy? What is my gifting? What do people feel like? What do I create when I'm in the flow and everything is just in that groove and feeling good? Remember that feeling. It doesn't have to be like you said, a constant thrumming of everything's high like that. But what I think is reassuring about that is to capture that and in those moments during our days, during our weeks, when those things, whatever those little gems happen, to almost like pause and to look at each other, Sawubona, I see you. I see you. I see you. You see me? I see you.
Ooh,
Did you see just what happened there? I got that. I got that. I see you. I just got that. And to pause and to remind ourselves, this is why we do this.
this is
And
what we
then
did.
somehow remember that so that in our darkness, as faculty developers, as clinicians, as educators, investigators, ugh, all the disappointments and the criticisms and all the deflations to remember this too shall pass. This
This
is
too
this is
shall
another
pass.
moment. This too shall pass. That's another mom Scarlet thing. She didn't make it up, but she'd like to say that. This too shall pass. And it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is
But
what
to
it is. Yeah.
remind ourselves that we'll go back up to these good things. These
Yeah.
moments happen. So I like how your sensibility is to, remember and revisit and remind ourselves of what are our values, what is central to who we are, what is our meaning, what is our
Right.
purpose.
What's our meaning? Absolutely. And I think one of my other favorite things I was just remembering is if we have time, because it can be really busy when we're delivering clinical care, is to sit everybody down and say, please share with the group, not with me, one thing that brought you joy with the patient care. And it's and so people,
Wow.
and they're always kind of caught off guard because they're thinking
Yeah.
like, oh, she's gonna quiz me on,
Yeah.
some genetic syndrome type thing. And not that I mean, that's important to know and important to
Absolutely.
discuss, but sometimes I'll say, look, I don't want you all to be burnt out. I want you to be happy because then you could take better care of your patients. So what brought you joy in seeing the patient? And we'll get, oh, the child, held my hand, or the
Mhm.
mom, had tears in her eyes. However, I was able to sit and comfort her. And then I hope that those learners can remember that
Wow. What
when
a
they,
powerful question.
and please, anybody who would like to use that, it's such a powerful technique, and you don't have to prepare. So if you're running out of time, you don't have to pull out a PowerPoint or talk. You could just, hey, let's take 5 minutes. Let's hear for everybody in the group, something that brought you joy, and then everybody can share with each other, and you can
Mhm.
see their faces brighten up, Kim. you
Yeah.
you can see a little spring in the step, because otherwise they forget why they're there, because it's just so much work to be
Yeah, so
done.
you're right, Geeta. So, Geeta, allow me, please, to play the devil's advocate. I don't have time
Yes.
for this, Geeta. Dr. Singhal, I mean, I appreciate your Pollyanna-ish mentality, but I have no time in my
Right.
day. I'm busy seeing patients. I'm supposed to be writing papers and doing research and teaching and all my administrivia. Um, I'm glad that you can skip through life, tra la la, but I don't have time for this. How do you reply to
Yeah.
someone like me?
So actually, I am a little, I can give a good smile, but I won't let it go. So yes, you have to do A, B, and C. I hear you. We will find a time at 2 o'clock, or you tell me the time that you do have time. So it's kind of like yes and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
you're too busy right now. And when will be the right time for you?
Yeah.
And then I will come back. Then often I'll bring some cookies or something just to kind of sweeten the deal. So, but so they kind of can say no for that time, but then they have to give me another time.
I love that
So,
approach
yeah.
because I don't do it with sweets, but I think to me it's always been a challenge. When I meet somebody who's kind of crunchy pants and they're kind of all meh, 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 or you're just a superficial cheerleader. Must be nice to live in your world. And you just, frolic through life with a stupid grin on your face. I'm like, oh, game on. Game
Oh, I
on,
like
sir.
that.
You're going to be that way? I am going to make you smile. I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And I know there are people who also go through life and they are kind of crunchy and sour grapes and they're sucking lemons all day. And God bless them, it's worked out for you. And yet, I think the opportunity for when I try to put myself in the shoes of people who are like, I don't have time for this. This kind of is not helping me. It's not serving me. I don't want to waste time with group touchy feely stuff is I try to think, okay, I get those stressors and pressures, and yet like a cognitive route of thinking about this rationally is we can choose how to respond to different things. And if you're going to carve a neural pathway that is always looking for the negative, you're the negative Nelly, you're the Eeyore in the group, and also then are you forming those pathways in your brain that you're always going there it's the idea that when the groove is becoming a rut, and now you're so
Yeah.
accustomed to going dark and going negative that now even if you want to, you almost it's harder to get out of that habit of being a Debbie
Yes.
Downer. So the
Right.
same way,
Right.
like when I meet people who are conflict habituated or they're either over so busy, 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 so busy, they're living on fire all the time. You keep doing that, it becomes habitual
Yeah.
and you're if and then it's harder to stop doing that. So if you want to stop eating junk food and stop drinking soda pop or stop, being negative, if you've been doing it for weeks and months and years and decades, I'm just saying try experimenting with not doing that because that's going to be hard. It's a habit then that you can't break. It's hard to flip into joy. Is I guess my
True.
long-winded point is that
Yeah.
you'd rather choose to be the other way? Well, because I've got these pressures and these grants and these deadlines and yeah, but this is academic health. This is not a race. It's not a
Yeah.
marathon because marathons at least have an end. This isn't going to end. You're going to be like
You
this
want
for the
to.
rest of your life, for the next 50 years. This is the way you want to live your life. I mean, how many decades until you reach a certain point where then you say, well, then now I'm gonna change the way I think about things. Really? Then it might be too late because now you're accustomed to smoking, drinking, or I'm using this as
True.
examples. Your brain's used to doing that thing, and that's even harder now to break that habit, that way of negativity. I'll shut
Yeah,
up now.
I no, 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 no. I'm with you because I think I mean there is a limit, right? Like I mean I will try, but to your example of that person, I sometimes actually I'll try it, but if they're not I mean I can only well this is a little faculty development maxim of mine. I mean, I can only lead the horse to water, but I can't make them drink, right? So if that faculty is habituated or crunchy all the time, I can try. I can be like, hey, yay, but if they're just like, oh my goodness, and rolling
Yeah,
their eyes, I mean,
right.
that's where I think as getting older, okay, I do have some boundaries too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm like, okay, I'm here for you. I care. However, I can't,
yeah,
if you're not ready, then I'm here when you are ready. So,
yeah,
so I think that's
yeah,
something I've learned as I've through the years too.
yeah,
So to kind of be like, I'll help you when you're ready,
yeah.
or I'm here.
And it's I reminded me now of Martin Feeder now, University of Chicago. He and I would go back and forth around and around trying to come up with a matrix of who's our audience. So if you think of,
Mm.
say, I have 100 faculty members, some are the Kool-Aid drinkers, they're the parishioners, they're in the church, they come every Sunday, they're sitting up at the front row, they're drinking all the Kool-Aid, so they're in it. Then you have the ones who don't even go to church. They're going to go out of their way to stay away from the church. Again, I'm using it as metaphor. So like they don't read our emails, they don't need our stuff. And then you'll have people who like maybe they're like the looky-loos. They'll come on there, the Creaster Catholics. They'll come at Christmas and Easter. They'll come once in a while to church. They'll eat your little bread and your little grape juice, but they're like, meh. So and then we could never like we go back and forth with the other quadrant of like who is it? It's people who don't who don't come. That was it. The fourth one. They don't come to church at all, but they're fine. Like they're by all measurable indicators, they're rocking and rolling. They're meeting milestones. They're doing the papers. They're seeing the patients. They're closing their notes. They're teaching the classes, and everything's fine, and they don't need them. So it's like, okay, God bless both of the two groups who don't go. Um, and okay, the other thing, the way I kind of get around backdoor to groups like that, hey, you don't have to come to our stuff. I don't read your emails. You stop always emailing me. I don't read any of your emails. Fine. Maybe you don't need those things. Clearly, is there any remote possibility in your world that early career people who are like newly joining your faculty or learners might benefit from your having this additional knowledge, attitudes, skills, behaviors? So it's not only about you. I mean, if you're fully formed and you're perfect, I mean, is there something that we could help you to help others? So don't think it's just we're trying to fix you or like throw down a yoga mat for you and make you all mindful and now you're not burning out. That's not the point. It's this growth mindset that we all have as
Right.
academics. Is there something we can do, learn, be, think that would help the ones coming up behind us? And the one thing is AI, artificial intelligence, right? Our appreciative inquiry, AI of AI. AI,
Oh, I love.
appreciative
Oh my God,
inquiry of
I love
artificial
that.
intelligence.
AI of AI. That sounds like a workshop.
There you go. Making it happen.
I love it. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's just trying to think. Yeah, the people who are like, I know everything and I'm good and I don't need. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
However, if you ever, yeah, I love that approach, Kim. If you know someone who could be helped by our faculty development program, please send them our way.
Thank you for
We
championing us.
exactly like thank you for being you, and
Yeah,
please, but there is power in that too. So, but now,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm just like, we're here. If you need us, we're here. And we do sometimes not make the faculty, we try to entice them to come, like provide a carrot for some faculty
Right.
development activity.
Chocolate, as it were. In your case, were you
Exactly.
dragging your
Yep.
drawer of
Chocolates and
chocolate
cookies.
and your ice cream sundaes and your sweets?
And sometimes it takes like they see their other colleagues
Yeah,
publishing or winning awards or whatever it is, whatever the coin of the realm is, and then
hmm
they get interested. And that's okay. It's
yeah,
because it has to come from their heart
that's right.
as well.
Alrighty.
It
So
has to
tell
come.
us a little bit more about your work with diagnostic errors and the
Ah,
art of medicine. How do you share that expertise? Can you paint us a couple scenarios of
oh
how you
gosh.
are in that space?
Wow. So I mean, I don't love diagnostic errors, meaning I don't want them to ever
Right.
happen. Because I was like, wait, I don't. However, I find the topic really interesting. And the example I use is, let's say you have a patient with appendicitis. I bet you could talk to a lot of people who are not clinicians, and they would probably say to call a surgeon. I think. I'm guessing. This is my theory. However, to make that diagnosis can be very, very hard. It could be very straightforward, or it could be so, so hard. And that appendix may burst,
Mm.
or it could get missed. But I bet a lot of people would know that you need a surgeon, whether they've gone to medical school or PA school or whatever, whatever nurse practitioner school. If we look at diagnosis, I kind of think like if that's kind of the key, because often if you could make the diagnosis, then you can ask AI or Google or look it up what to do. Not 100% of the time. But often when I'm looking up things, you need a diagnosis to then read up on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But to use that to use your diagnostic critical thinking skills to also bring in that art of medicine where you're listening to the family,
Mm.
watching that mom's face. When I
hmm
say, I'm thinking XYZ about your son, and the mom's like, aha, or the mom's like,
Doesn't,
or the
yeah.
mom's like, no, you're just wrong, which is welcomed because that helps in the diagnosis. So I think to go back, I love that art of the medicine because I try to impart to learners if we listen to our families, if we listen to our patient, it's going, which is the art, because then they feel good that they've been listened to. But if we get a really good story, then that's going to help us with making a good diagnosis.
Mm.
And then if we do a really good physical exam, it reassures the families that we've been thorough, which is the art. But then that will also help us with diagnosis. And hopefully, we're not ordering too many tests or too much blood work. We're just we're just thinking through, and then we're also using our words to explain to the family, as well as then when we go and talk um, as a group or whatever the situation is, to talk through like differentials. So I think you can embed both,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, so you're making me think, which I love, about coaching and asking curious questions. And as a
Yes.
coach, I'm always trying to withhold or suspend judgment, be curious. And it sounds like when you said, we want to hear the story, I can envision a scenario where a clinician's running in the room, they're late, they're harried and frazzled and stressed out and looking at the computer or looking at a piece of paper and already kind of going, all right, X-year-old woman, this is complains of this, that, it's probably that. Versus doing all that and then saying, well, what's going on today? Can you tell me what's happening? And as you were just, describing a mom or a dad going, oh, that doesn't sound like my son, or that sounds exactly right, or I'm not quite sure. That only comes, I imagine, when you hold space for them to tell a story versus bad coach who's asking yes, no questions
Yep. And
rather
it
than,
actually,
yeah,
yeah,
being
and
politely
actually,
saying, tell me. And looking
right.
at them.
And actually, I think it saves time because if we, not that we're just about time, but because we're so time pressured. So if we can just let that family or the patient talk to us, we'll probably get a lot of history. They'll probably leave a little less frustrated, which then maybe means less calls in the afternoon, as an example, because often the patients really tell the nurses the most. they're the real true, actually, they're the true healers, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then the nurse will call and say, oh, the mom said this and this and this. You have to come back to the bedside, which I'm happy to do because they didn't feel heard. So often
Mm.
when people are like, well, we're going to rush through this, I'm like, well, they're going to call you back in the afternoon or the evening or the
Yeah.
overnight because
Yeah.
they didn't feel heard or listened to. And
Yeah.
in fact, Kim, I myself went to go see a doctor about some, everything's fine. But I was really struck because I did not like him at all. Because he just kept looking at my labs, and I was just like, I really can, I've already, and I even said, I said, I've reviewed my own labs. So what I really need to do is just talk to you about some of my concerns. And he just kept reviewing the labs. And I was just like,
Mm.
and I was
Mm.
like, wow, the
Wow.
power of our actions, the power of our words, or not the power of our words.
Yeah. The connection,
So,
the
uh,
willingness to be heard. I think you said that early, and it's
yeah,
so true. No matter where we are in life, people just want to be recognized as, I hear you, I see you. Again, I'm with you. I'm with you and not distracted by something else. And as soon
yeah,
as a patient would said, I am an MD, I've looked at my labs, I would think that somebody else would be like, oh, and you that would be like a trigger to be like a rubber band snapping on your wrist. Wait a minute, let me pay attention to this.
right.
Or when a mom or dad starts saying this, or a kid does that, wait a minute, pay attention to this. So
Yeah.
those kind of things, being open to hearing what people say and then reading between the lines, listening between the lines, what aren't they saying? That just gets all to what you're talking about, the art of medicine, the art of relationship, the art of communication.
Absolutely. And then, but it will help you make a better diagnosis,
Yeah.
and which is what we need. We need a good diagnosis to figure out a treatment plan. And
Hmm.
then I think, though, the one thing also I try to explain to the learners is I have been distracted. There are so many times I've been in the room and the pager's going off or I'm thinking about something. And then I apologize.
Yeah.
I say, I'm so sorry. I was listening and I apologize.
Yeah.
I got a notification on my phone.
And I got distracted.
Yeah, or whatever this it is. I apologize. I will be back. I need to go to attend to something else.
Yeah.
And everybody is so
Get that.
forgiving.
They get that. They get it.
They get that. They
Yeah.
get that. I
You're
just say,
not saying, I'm sorry, I need to go have a bite of chocolate or I want to go watch something on TV. Everybody understands that. But there again, that is the honesty, the humility of, I am a human. I'm going to try my best here. I may miss that, or I didn't hear that. Could you state that over again? Wait, you caught me.
yeah,
Hang on a second. I want to go back. Let me hear that again. What did you just say about that? That
yes.
honesty, that's what I think people
The-
want again, to be heard. They know we're not going to be perfect, but that's why I can imagine you with your learners and your patients and your colleagues, that sensibility is doing so much to not only build relationships, but it's modeling, you know, how to be with each other. So I think it's just
yeah.
wonderful stuff. I love it. This is another good example why I love conversations. I love learning from people. I'm so appreciative you of coming on the
Mhm.
podcast and talking about what brings you joy and reminding us of some really important lessons. So I will leave the final parting words to Dr. Geeta Singhal.
Okay. Well, first of all, this has been an honor. I've just so enjoyed talking with you as well. I think for me, what I try to remind myself is that when I do feel harried, when I do feel like, oh my gosh, like Calgon, take me away. I know that's like an old reference, but then I try to remind myself, like, well, the patients are going way, way worse than anything I'm going through. So, uh, okay, Geeta, note to self. Like sometimes I'll be in a line at the grocery store and I'm like, oh my gosh, the line's so long and I gotta
Yeah.
go home and I gotta cook and take care of the kids. And I'm like, okay, Geeta, get a grip. Just get a grip. Like, how lucky are you to stand in line and
Yeah.
and have the money to buy whatever you need and go home and take care of your family? Like so I have to talk to myself. And I do. Sometimes I just silently so no one thinks but those are those things. And then with the learners, just Well, when I think about our learners, I try to explain to the faculty, you are teaching our future. Please always remember. So when they're asking for their time, for their feedback, when you have to spend extra time, because they're our future. So it's beholden on us to, or whatever the right word, to do our best.
Great. Thank you so much, Geeta. Appreciate you. And come on back next time to the Faculty Factory podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Faculty Factory podcast. We are a faculty development community sharing tools to build academic leaders in healthcare. Maybe you want to be interviewed on the podcast? Please visit facultyfactory.org/contact and send me a message there. The Faculty Factory podcast and website is sponsored by the Office of Faculty Affairs at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas.